everybody. Thank you for coming. This is going to be a great show. Tonight, we're talking about Pinterest, and the internet is falling. And what are these evil people at Pinterest doing to our internet? How have they twisted us into their machinations of evil? We'll talk about all that and more. We've got amazing guests here tonight. We have photographers. We have lawyers that might just suck all the fun out of the room. And we got nice lawyers. It would be like that. But let's go around and have introductions for everybody. And when I go to you guys, feel free to plug whatever you want to plug. If you have a website, whatever you're into, this is your chance. Okay, so let's start with Denise Howell from This Week in Law. Hi, Denise.
Hi, Trey. Great to be here.
Hello. So tell us all about your show and what you got going on.
So I do a show on the Twit network called This Week in Law. We do it every Friday at 11 o'clock Pacific time. And last week's show was all about Pinterest. So it's fun to come on and sort of pick up the threads from that here tonight with you photographer folks, because, of course, that's where the big concerns about Pinterest lie. We had some great panelists take it apart a lot of different ways last Friday. Connie Mabelson and Carolyn Wright, who is a photographer and an attorney, and Evan Brown and I, and we went through and tried to figure out all of the liability issues we could think of for both Pinterest and its users. So there's some, detailed discussion of that over on episode 154 of This Week in Law. And I do a blog called Bag and Baggage, where I'm currently trying to get up all the photos and narrative from a trip I took to Colombia last December. So anybody interested in traveling there should go check that out.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Denise. Now let's say hi to the great Thomas Hawk, who's just returned from a wild photo walk.
Ah, the great Trey Ratcliff, who should have been with us.
I wanted
with us, Erick. But and even if he wasn't there, we talked about him the entire time.
Oh,
so,
God.
Yeah, I just got back from Jarvie Land in Utah. Spent some time there. That was great. The Festival of Colors, and we got on top of the LDS building to shoot down on the temple, and Jesse Stay arranged that for us, and lots of cool stuff. But Jarvie got us into the symphony and all that. So anyways, I'm Thomas Hawk. You can find me on Google Plus and on Twitter and on Flickr and every place else just as Thomas Hawk, or at thomashawk.com, which is my blog. And I do a show every Wednesday night, except this week it's on Thursday, called Photo Talk Plus with Lotus Carroll. So we'll be on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Excellent. A highly recommended show. Thank you. Now let's say hi to Calibra Kelby. Hi, Calibra.
Hello.
You are the queen of Pinterest.
Thank you very much. I don't know if I'm the queen, but I do enjoy it. I am definitely a Pinterest user and fan. I'm also one of the founders of NAP and Kelby Training Online. So I think I was invited here today for my chocolate board for you, Trey.
That's right. I'm an active Pinterest user, and you know how I didn't realize this until recently, but it shows who I repin the most, and you're my number one person.
Is it the chocolate?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Well, thank you for coming.
Oh,
let's say hi to Patrick. Hey, Patrick.
Hi, I'm Patrick DeFrucia. I'm a landscape nature photographer. I've been doing it for about 12 years, maybe pro, I would say, for over 4 years. You could see my work on DeFrucia Photography, which is DIFRUSCIA, photography.com. You could follow me on Twitter and Facebook using facebook.com/timecatcher. And on Pinterest, I use my name, DeFrucia. So if you want to find me, you could find me there. Also, pretty excited about this new project coming with Colby Brown, Ken Kaminesky, Dean Bradshaw, and Ilya Locardi. We're working on something which should be pretty exciting. I can't tell you much about it right now, but stay tuned for that. That's going to be pretty good.
Great. And we'll be seeing your amazing landscape photos later in the show when we go through photos. So thank you for coming.
You.
And last, let's say hello to another lawyer, Jody, but also she wears many hats. So tell us all about you, Jody.
Thanks, Trey. Thanks for having me. I worked as a lawyer for about 5 years, and then I had saved up money and quit my job and started traveling. So primarily now I'm a travel writer, and I do photography, but a lot of it is food, and because I write a lot about the history of food and the narrative surrounding why we eat what we eat. So the photos are more illustrative than just photo essays, but I enjoy it a lot. And you can find me on my website, which is legalnomads.com. That's nomads with an S, which I picked as a name because I was a lawyer and started being nomadic and it stuck. And I'm Legal Nomads on Twitter as well. And on Pinterest, it's Jody Edinburgh, which is my full name.
Cool. Thanks, Jody. And let me also thank the production team here. Here's Dave Veffer, my producer. Hello, Dave.
Hello, everybody. You can find me at plusdave.com. I actually just posted some shots from DC, which I just got back from Photoshop World, so that was fun.
Cool. Thank you, Dave. And also Tony Wang over at Twit. Hi, Tony.
Hi, you can find me at Twit, I guess.
Tony, how's your photography coming?
It's great. I actually just got a 5D Mark II and it's sitting at home waiting for me to come home, so.
Whoa, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Happy to see you. And so everybody, he's up there at Twit, and if you are just now tuning in and you're watching on my Google Plus stream or anyone else's Google Plus stream, if you go to live.twit.tv, there's a live chat in there. We're all in there. Dave is collecting questions. And just Dave, interrupt us at any time. We'll kind of have a free-form discussion here. So here's the order of how tonight will go. Pretty much the bulk of the show, the first part of the show is all about Pinterest and copyright and sharing online and these topics. And then we'll make a very rough segue into people sharing some of their new photos because it's, we have a bunch of photographers here and I want to see all their work. And that'll be a fun thing. And then we always end the show by sharing some Google Plus photographer discoveries because we all like to be inspired. And I can use that inspiration as a soft segue into talking about Pinterest. Because this is why I use Pinterest. I think this is why a lot of people use Pinterest because it's a place for inspiration. And I'll go to Denise here in a second to get her opinion on the legal side and just the human side of Pinterest and where it all collides. But first, I'll try to frame the conversation around Pinterest by kind of giving you my opinion. So I'm not a journalist. I'm not objective. In fact, everything I say is laced with a sweet subjectivity, and you'll instantly get my drift on my feelings on this sort of thing. And I've been outspoken in the past about Pinterest and about online sharing in these matters. And here's another, let me give you a sideways way of looking at Pinterest. And this is all kind of under the idea of I'm trying to be persuasive to people that might be anti-Pinterest, which kind of equates to anti-open online sharing. And I don't know, have any of you guys seen this movie, The Artist, the one that won all the awards recently? Well, if you haven't, the crux of the movie, it's about a silent movie star right when the talkies come along. And he chooses not to make the transition into talking in movies, and he kind of stays behind. And the movie is all about how he gets, depressed and how he deals with everything, how he doesn't deal with the change. And, in the end, he ends up with a gun in his mouth. And I mean, it's pretty rough. And in a way, there's something almost parallel going on with the old world of sharing and the new world of sharing, and that and this is the parallel breaks down a little bit. Like, let's say you're not into online sharing, your end will not be as dire as that guy's. But what can happen is that as more and more people start sharing their work online through places like Pinterest or Facebook or Google Plus. In essence, they're all kind of the same. As more and more people start sharing their work online, it gives you a chance to drive more and more people into your museum, right? As artists, we all like to create for the sake of creation, and we share for the sake of connecting with the world. And as maybe one of your goals is to get people to come into your online museum, right? And this is where that Hollywood artist actor analogy breaks down, because that's the old world where there's a finite number of things, right? Where it's Hollywood, there's only a few big production houses. It's a gatekeeper model where there can only be a few celebrities, a few hit movies, and it's limited in a finite way. Well, here we are in 2012. It's the internet. Things are no longer finite. The internet is a giant copy machine, and you can use this giant copy machine to drive people into your museum. And to me, Pinterest is just a giant shopping mall, right? And there are millions of people going through the shopping mall all the time. And if you get out ahead of this thing, you can have people in that shopping mall, you can peel them off into your little museum. And maybe there might be some kind of transaction there, maybe not. Maybe they're just there to enjoy the art. So this is the way that I see the world of online sharing. I see it of inspiration, where we're all artists, we're all growing and learning and creating together. There's not a finite amount of attention. It's not like there's one winner or just a few winners and everyone else is not a winner. In this new world of online sharing, we can all be winners, and it doesn't hurt me at all to have other amazing landscape photographers like Patrick out there sharing his work. It's better for me, it inspires me, and makes the world better. And I think Pinterest is just one of these engines that's making this world of sharing a more wonderful place. And this is my perspective now. But there's a lot of photographers that disagree with me. I respect that. And for that other side of things, maybe we could talk about the legal side of things with Denise. And I'll be quiet for a while. This is sort of my opinion. I want everyone to have a free discussion about this, and I'm very interested in everyone else's opinion as well. So Denise, what do you think about all this?
I think that Pinterest probably will make some changes to the way that it is architected, the way that people share things there. That right now it is exposed and its users are exposed, and that's why there has been a lot of attention to the copyright issues around Pinterest. One of the things that it does, obviously, that a search engine, for example, does not, is display the photo as its actual size that you can find on the web, as opposed to a thumbnail. And there are some legal decisions that have made that distinction. If you're providing just a small window into the photo, an idea of what it looks like in its full glory, then you're not destroying the market for that work in the fair use analysis, and that makes a difference and could sway a court. And if you are showing the whole work, then that might dissuade someone from actually clicking through and going to the photographer's site, etc. So that's something that they may have to look at hard and decide if they're going to stick with that. Of course, it will affect the experience on Pinterest. Part of the reason the site is compelling and works well is that you do have this nice tiled view, and then when you click through, you can see a fuller version of the image you're looking at. So it's going to be a hard decision for them, but it does have some legal significance. One of the other things that they do that is going to be problematic is the stripping out of the metadata around photos. Obviously, that's put there for good reasons by the people who take the pictures. I don't think, I'm sure that Pinterest has its good reasons for why it's doing that, but I think that's something they may well have to change. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, there are some issues for Pinterest itself. And also, and this is what really concerns me about the site, for the users who may well be technically engaging in actionable copyright infringement involving potentially large damages awards against them and have no idea that just by clicking on a repin button and enjoying the visual sensory experience that the site provides, that they may well be opening them up to liability from the photographers whose works are appearing there. That's problematic too. Pinterest has done some great stuff to address the situation. I think they had a good idea. They went live with it. They shot first and asked permission later kind of approach. And that's great. But I think, they're going to have to iron out these issues as they continue to grow as a site. They're well protected under the DMCA to some extent, as long as they can show that, hey, we're not building a business that's solely based on the copyright infringement of our users. They should be in the clear. But, if they are exposing their users to a lot of liability, that's going to be a problem for them and obviously for the users too. So the main things I think that they need to address are the size of the pictures they're displaying, the actual storage of photos on their own site, as opposed to a temporary caching or even some other inline way of accessing the picture. And also the metadata issue I mentioned. The do not pin strategy that they're going with is good. Obviously, they're giving people the option if they don't want to participate in that ecosystem and they're savvy enough to figure out that there's some code they should be using, then they can do so. So that's helpful. It will have significance in the legal analysis, but it doesn't really save them totally or their users totally from liability. So that's it in a nutshell, and I'm happy to answer any other questions people may have.
Cool, thanks, Denise. So Thomas, you're an active Pinterest guy like me, and you're very much into sharing. Does any of this stuff, this legal stuff, does it frighten you? Does it sway your opinion the other way? What do you think about all this?
Yeah, it does frighten me a lot, actually, because anybody can be sued for copyright, and it can even be a frivolous lawsuit someone files against you for copyright. Mm-hmm. And the copyright laws are so far out of whack that, you can end up being sued for millions of dollars over copyright, which is just, in my mind, absolutely absurd. And it does worry me. I like Pinterest a lot. I like the idea of sharing. I believe that there's really nothing wrong with people sharing other work on Pinterest. I look at it as scrapbooking. It's no different than if 20 years ago you cut out a picture of something from Good Housekeeping magazine and shared it with your friends and put it in a box and made a scrapbook and all of that. It's just a little bit more technical. So I really like the idea of it. But I haven't been pinning stuff lately, and I'm not sure that I will in the future, unfortunately, because personally, I am worried about being sued by some crackpot, and I've been sued before. I'm not going to get into that because I have a settlement that included a non-disparagement clause. But anybody can sue anybody, and you may think you're covered because you pin something. Oh, I like this guy's photo, I think I'll pin it. You may find yourself on the wrong end of a lawsuit, unfortunately.
Can I address that for a sec?
Sure.
So I mentioned the DMCA as protection for Pinterest. There's also some degree of protection for the users that the DMCA provides as well. And it's not so much technically under the law they're protected, but as far as the process goes, the system would work just like YouTube. That if you should go ahead and post something that is infringing, as lots of people do on YouTube, that then you go through the whole notice and takedown procedure, which involves the copyright owner sending a letter to the site, notifying them that there's something up there that needs to come down. The site takes it down, and then if the user is strongly convinced that there's a fair use reason or a legitimate reason why this picture should be up there and that they're in the right, then they can contest that And, so that whole process runs its course before the copyright holder starts to think about, okay, am I going to go after the user now because the work is still up there and I can't control it?
Yes, in a practical world, and that's how it works the vast majority of the time. And yet, anybody can sue anybody for anything. And someone can still file a lawsuit against you in federal court, even without a DMCA takedown notice, and sue you for millions of dollars. And it may be a bogus lawsuit, but when you're looking at it at $100,000 to defend yourself against, say, somebody with unlimited pockets or some wealthy person that's just doing it for whatever reason they're doing it, because they believe in some misguided idea that people that pin something on the internet should be subject to hundreds of thousands of dollars, it could still end up costing you quite a bit, or you may be forced into settling for a smaller amount of money, against your will. And if somebody has particularly if somebody has a registered copyright on an item, they can hang your feet over the fire and they can make you pay. And maybe it's only $10,000 or $15,000 you end up settling with, but even without going through DMCA, they can still make you pay.
Yep, definitely. There's exposure for sure. And as you say, those people who are out there and are not just concerned about taking down the picture, if that's their issue, they just want to be litigious.
And in fact, aren't there law firms that specialize in this sort of thing and helping wrangle settlements out of unfortunate people that get caught in their mind, offending copyright? I mean, there are whole law firms that are dedicated to this sort of thing and advertise towards that.
There are, and I think that you're raising some excellent points as to why Pinterest is going to have to address all this as part of its business plan. That they are going to have to provide some level of comfort for copyright holders and comfort for users. And I'm not quite sure how they're going to go about that. If they're going to have to take a test case and step in and litigate it, if they're going to architect the site slightly differently. But I don't see them shuttering the site anytime soon.
I don't see them shuttering the site at all. But I mean, I think it's absolutely ludicrous that some unsuspecting person, could pin something that happened to be taken by a professional photographer who gets his nose out of whack and says, here we go, here's my shot at $30,000, and ends up threatening them with a $250,000 lawsuit unless they cough up a few thousand. I think that's terrible.
It is terrible.
There are photographers like that out there. There are people like that out there and there are law firms like that out there that specialize in this sort of thing, and they're looking for the guy that they can shake down. So I don't know. At first I was putting some stuff up on Pinterest, and I rethought it and said, geez, do I really want to be on the short stick of another lawsuit?
Yeah, one thing we've been talking about a lot on This Week in Law lately is and there's nothing working its way through Congress yet, but there are a lot of like-minded folks, to you, Thomas, and lots of law professors and policymakers who think that copyright law needs to take into account that social media works differently than copyright law ever anticipated that it would. And that there should be some uses that are specifically carved out. Maybe fair use should be codified as something that's not just a defense to copyright infringement, but something that stands in its own right as a thing you can do under the law, and not just something you can raise defensively in response to a claim. So, I do think that we all need to pay attention to this the way that folks did a few weeks back with SOPA and PIPA, and make sure that people are staying in touch with their congresspeople if they're worried about these kinds of issues, and letting them know, making us think about it.
So, Calibra, how do you feel as one of the biggest lawbreakers on Pinterest by repinning all these things? I find it, of course, I think this is all ridiculous. When you have tens of millions of people every day breaking the law, what does the law even mean anymore? So, anyway, Calibra, tell us a little bit about you and Pinterest.
Of course, they don't feel like that's what they're doing. I certainly don't feel like that's what I'm doing. I mean, I'm kind of bummed right now, actually. These two go back and forth. I appreciate the information, but it's just been, and in just speaking as someone who's just using it as, I'm not a photographer, so I'm in there pinning other people's. I do have some of my stuff up there, but it's just iPhone shots that I take with my phone camera, and I really don't care if anybody repins those. Good luck with that. But it's just a fun experience. It's not like you're trying to harm someone or their work or anything like that. I mean, it's actually really kind of a form of a compliment. I'm not quite sure what the photographers are concerned about as far as, no one's making money. That person pinning it isn't selling your work or printing it out. They couldn't hang it on their wall or anything like that. They're just simply saying, this is something I appreciate and I think is beautiful. So that's kind of the perspective, at least from this user.
Yeah, I'm looking at your page now, Calibra, and just before the show started, I saw that you had put this photo up, and I thought it was so cool. I have seen one of these before with the flower and the dress.
Yeah.
And, it's so actually naturally human for me to see something pretty and repin it and share it with my friends. I can't believe that kind of action would be illegal. Now, if
I just repinned that one too. It is beautiful.
Now if I was so moved by this that I actually wanted to go buy some prints or license these for commercial work, I would go figure out who took these and do it. And so, I think it's great that this, otherwise I would have never found out about this amazing idea, this amazing artist. Maybe I'll try something like this on my own. Maybe I would license it. Maybe I would buy a print. But it just seems so natural, this window shopping on Pinterest. And I can't even, it drives me wild, all the legal stuff.
Well, and that really is it, isn't it? I think I used the same term the other day when I was talking about it, window shopping, it really does feel like that, right? So, I don't know.
The other thing it feels very much like is search. If everyone remembers back when Yahoo was actually sort of human curated search, and there were categories and, people who were responsible for parsing up the web into certain categories, it feels a lot like that. And, I think that there's value in that. And there are legal decisions that protect search that could be invoked in Pinterest's favor and in favor of its users. But they are going to have to get around this question of, okay, a lot of this hangs on fair use. And if you're destroying the market for the work by actually reproducing the work in the same form that you could find it, elsewhere in a legal way on the photographer's website, that's going to be an issue.
But Denise, isn't it true that some photographer who took that picture could sue you anyways? And yes, you might have a fair use defense or you might not, but it might cost you $40,000 to figure out one way or the other.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I think Pinterest is going to have to address this. That they're going to need to either change the way that the site works so that, yes, you could be sued, and the way that fair use operates is, you may well have to be the person who comes in and says, but yes, this is search, and nobody wants to be in that unenviable position of the groundbreaking legal trailblazer. Fortunately, there would be, I think, a lot of folks who would ride into this battle, such as the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and would want to, represent the person and help them. But you're right. If you're the user who has to take that stand, it's going to be difficult. So I think that we'll probably see Pinterest try and iron out these issues. They're well funded. They want to continue to operate a useful and delightful site for users and not have users, cower in fear of lawsuits. So I'm not privy to their management decisions, but this has got to be high on their priority list.
Seems like a better solution to me is to simply exempt people that share in social media from copyright infringement lawsuits.
Yeah, we had a law professor on my show a couple of weeks ago who's making proposals exactly along those lines. Now, whether those go anywhere from a lawmaking standpoint is kind of up to all of us and our lawmakers. So, again, make that a high priority issue.
Hey, Patrick, tell us a little bit about your approach to Pinterest, because I think you and I are doing the same kind of thing where we put some of our work up there, and then we also pin a lot of other work that inspires us or we think is cool.
Yeah, well, I'm all for exposure. So honestly, everyone that's listening to this show, go on my website and pin all my pictures, and I'll never sue you. That's for sure. Like I personally use that black frame on all my pictures. It's got my website on top, so usually it's easy. I've thought about removing it, but a lot of people, and I got a lot of work, a lot of people found my work because of that black frame. So I leave it there for now, and it brings me a lot of paying jobs. It brings me a lot of sales and prints because people find my work because someone shared one of my image. So Pinterest for me is just it's a good tool to use, like Facebook, like Google Plus, like all these things. I'm not against that. I never share my images in really large format. So there's just so much you can do with it, except really like bringing me exposure. So in terms of using it for myself or people pinning my work, I'm all for it. I think it's a really good tool that's out there. It's just a matter of juggling all these social medias now that at one point, we all love taking pictures, not spending hours in front of a computer, which this is the only part that I find that gets harder and harder because you feel like you need to be a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, and make sure your presence is everywhere, which is maybe the hard part for me.
That's very interesting. We have a question here from Joey BLS. It's a question for me, but I want Jody to answer it. It says, Trey, do you go through a formal process to copyright your work? How does it work with the U.S. Copyright Office, so on and so forth? So, Jody, maybe you give some advice to people, because I do copyright my work through the Copyright Office. And, of course, this gives me legal recourse in the event that somebody, some big corporation or somebody misuses it in an improper way. But why don't you tell people a little bit about the process, because a lot of photographers would like to know how to protect themselves.
Are you asking me, Trey? Sorry.
Yes.
I'm having trouble with my microphone. I actually don't, I think Denise would be a better option for that question. I would love to chat more about the sharing aspects and curation, but in terms of processing for copyright, I did new media but technology law, so not specific intellectual property stuff prior.
Well, go ahead and talk about that, and we'll have Denise on back to talk about how to copyright your work. All right. I just wanted to separate out between the legal issues, which are obviously very important, and Tony talked about many reasons why they would be, but also that aspect of sharing generally and people having opposition to Pinterest, regardless of whether there are legal issues, still just having sort of a philosophical opposition to social media and sharing. And I think I fall where you do in terms of, the push towards social media is one of everyone wants to be a curator and everyone kind of treats themselves more and more like publishers themselves. So part of it is like the social credibility of saying, I've put together this great board, don't you love it too? But also genuinely feeling enthused and passionate about the things you find and wanting to share them. So I understand, why certain photographers may feel that it is taking their work and using it. I think one of the basic things, though, and a way to sort of not get around it, but at least give some sort of accountability is to try and source, at least say, when I'm linking to a photo on Pinterest or repinning it, or when I post on Twitter, even specific photos, I put the name of the photographer, even if they're not on Twitter, their actual name. I try and keep associating the name of the photographer with the photo when I can. I think it is a wonderful thing, services like Pinterest, even Twitter, and the ability to go out and share information that you love and curate it. And curation more and more is an important aspect of social media. Yes. It is.
One thing I would say about the fact that you copyright your images, and I think that's great for photographers to do that, and it's pretty simple. You just send your images to the copyright office. You can send them all on a big CD. You can, as you know, you can do it a lot of different ways. I think it's great for people to protect themselves against, like you say, big corporations that misuse their work. And if your photo is used on 100 billboards across the country for Home Depot, yeah, you probably ought to be compensated for that. But I absolutely believe that if you are publishing work on the internet of somebody else in a non-commercial way, so through social media, whether it's Facebook, Pinterest, Google+, whatever, if you are publishing images like that, you should not be subject to any potential liability. And I think that's one of the problems with this Pinterest stuff is the copyright laws have gotten so far out of whack that you have a great philosophy about it, and you would never go after some little guy that posts something. But there are law firms and unscrupulous photographers out there that would say, hey, if we can shake this guy down for $5,000, why not? And that's what worries me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So Raleigh Dino in the chat room raises a good point that I don't mean to make us sound so U.S.-centric, but the U.S. is overrun with attorneys who will do anything to move money from one group of people to another group of people and take a cut. This is what they do. So, we are extra sensitive to it. So anyway, Denise, being one of these people that moves money from one group of people to another group of people and takes a cut, what can you kind of give a worldwide perspective on how photographers could protect themselves? Or I don't mean to make it too U.S.-centric. What do you think about all this?
Yeah, I wish I could make it more globally focused, but unfortunately I practice in the United States, and that's what I know. Different countries have different approaches to copyright law. Many of them have a copyright system like the one that we have in the U.S. So some of this is, you can take it and generalize it out to beyond our borders. In the U.S., one thing that is interesting, we've been talking about the fact that it's good to register your things with the Copyright Office. You get definite additional advantages when you do that. And if you're ever serious about suing and pursuing your rights, you really need to have done that. But it's worth mentioning that our copyright law in the United States is so broadly structured that you actually don't have to register. The copyright is automatic. As soon as you create a work that qualifies, it is copyrighted, it goes to the problem that Thomas is mentioning, that, copyright is so broad in the United States, it's easy to get sued. So the takeaway here, without getting too specific on the law, is that, in the United States, and I think in some other countries that have similar copyright regimes, actually, as a creator, you can have some comfort that your works are copyrighted as soon as you create them. But then, if you ever want to pursue those rights, you need to be going through, at least in the U.S., the process of registering them. And the Copyright Office actually has a great FAQ on registering copyrights, registering a work. Just if you go to copyright.gov FAQ, they take you through step by step what you have to do. It's simple enough that you can do it yourself without a whole lot of lawyers' fees. But lawyers are helpful in that process too. The other thing I wanted to mention that we haven't talked about today is structures like Creative Commons for folks like Patrick who really want to get their work out there and want people to know that they are authorized to use those works and that the creator is not going to come after them as long as they're using them within his parameters. Creative Commons is a great thing to be using to give people that kind of assurance.
Yes. Hey, Trey,
yes.
I've just pulled up this website page for a law firm called Harmon and Seidman. And what they say on their website, their main page, Harmon and Seidman, LLC, is a national law firm representing photographers, artists, and writers. We specialize in copyright infringement claims. Our clients are copyright creators and owners, individuals, and agencies. We do not defend copyright infringers. This is a law firm that will charge you nothing. They work on contingency, so it costs you nothing. They're advertising out there trying to get photographers to come to them to come sue people that are using their work. I mean, that's the problem. This is the with Pinterest, what worries me is you post something, then all of a sudden you have some law firm like this coming after you and shaking you down for a settlement.
Yes, it's infuriating. I told you that if we brought lawyers on the show, they would suck all the fun out of the room.
Well,
I know it.
know. Do you guys follow Right Haven at all? They're a law firm that tried to make their fortune on the reuse of newspaper stories, and those guys have gone down in flames every which way.
Thank God.
Yes. So they've been sanctioned. They've been trounced.
But isn't that the problem, though, with Right Haven? All these people, some little blogger that all they did was, copy an article in a Las Vegas whatever newspaper or something. And next thing you know, they're being shook down and they got to pay $5,000 on a settlement.
Yeah, I wish I could say that was the problem with Right Haven. The main problem with Right Haven is more of a technicality. They actually don't own the copyrights that they're purporting to assert. So they're getting tossed out of court on that grounds. They're trying to have people assign the rights to the actual firm as opposed to representing a client in the suit. They're suing in their own name. So they're procedurally off, and that's what's making them get shot down right and left. Now, that's not too hard to fix, as you've been pointing out, Thomas. And if folks like with the firm you just mentioned, I'm sure they're not going to make that mistake, and they're going to represent the client in the client's own name, and that really kind of eliminates the whole Right Haven drama that we've been seeing unfold. But it also is a bit of a check on it, because the client has to be, the Right Haven clients just tried to assign all their rights, and Right Haven paid them, and so they didn't have to be involved in the whole litigation process. If you're a photographer who wants to pursue it, you're going to have to be invested in that.
So I have a question here for Calibra, because now maybe people have decided that, okay, well, Pinterest sounds like a cool place for inspiration. I'll go hang out there. I'm not really worried. Or you've been scared off of it completely. I'm not scared off. I'm going to hang out there for a long time. But my question for Calibra, who spends way more time on Pinterest than any human should, my question is, how do you find all these awesome things to pin? Because, I pin, it takes me a long time to find interesting people to follow. You're doing something different than me, because the amount of awesome stuff that you're pinning is much better than the awesome stuff I'm repinning. So I think, tell us a little bit about how you use Pinterest to find cool stuff.
Well, and actually, I use Pinterest. I don't go outside of Pinterest a whole lot. Now, of course, when you first sign up, like on almost all of the social media sites, and you tell them what you're into, they give you suggestions, right? And so initially, that's kind of how you start. But honestly, once you figure out what boards you want, I mean, day one, I didn't have a chocolate board or, whatever, coffee board, or the two things that keep me going. So once you figure that out, then you can actually do a search within Pinterest, high heels, if that's another board. But, or chocolate or whatever, you put it in there to search, and all of these things will come up, or any name that you think might relate to what you're looking for. And these things will come up, and you'll start to see people whose pins, you find interesting. That's all there is to it.
So if you see an interesting pin, you'll drill in and find out who originated it, and then that's how you might discover somebody new?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, exactly. So you do sort of a deep dive to figure out where the pin came from and think, okay, this person is really good at collecting stuff off the web, and then they become a new source for you. I'm
a very curious person, so yeah, I will. I'll go to their site, not just to that pin. If I find, if I see that that's a pin that's a sort of photograph or an interest that I have, instead of just repinning that, I'll actually go to that person's site and see what else they have.
So do you think, let's talk about the male-female thing. right? Because Pinterest is something like 99.9% women.
I don't think it's that high, but I get it.
What is it about the female mentality that just lends itself to pinning and repinning and collecting? Because it doesn't seem like that's necessarily a female thing. What do you think it is?
Yeah, I don't think that's not it, because I don't collect things in real life. I don't have any collections of anything, to be honest with you. I think sharing is very, at least with my female friends, that's something that we do a lot, whether it's conversation or, insights into our life or a favorite restaurant. That's certainly the sharing aspect of it, is definitely, and the things that you tend to collect, you think they're beautiful, right? So I don't know. And the window shopping thing, of course, that might do it for some of the women. I don't know.
And Patrick, are you spending a lot of time on there? It sounds like you're just getting familiar with the site.
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm not spending that much time on it. All my time goes towards Google Plus and Facebook. But I started the Pinterest, I would say maybe 3 weeks ago, just for fun, because again, I heard about it so much that decided to go on it. And basically what I have is one board with my images, one board with places I'd like to visit, one board that's in the memory of all the people that actors, musicians, singers that kind of marked my life in a way that I've put up there. And I also use it some kind of maybe a lot of people do that too, a vision board. Stuff places I'd like to go, I keep looking at these pictures and go, okay, I need to go to Patagonia. Okay, I need to go here. I need to go there. So kind of keeps all these places in check for me. So, but I'm just starting to use it. So I didn't do that much yet on it.
So for us men, someone in the chat room, Dave, tell me who recommended this site, gentlemint.com, which is full of all kinds of things that dudes like.
That was Tonka Sal.
Look at this. I see lots of stuff with wheels, and I see some guns. Yeah.
Hey, Trey, one thing that I do think is good about Pinterest is that with so many women on there and the soccer mom crowd and all of that, they make, I think, much more sympathetic lawsuit victims than college students against the RIAA. So, from a PR perspective, at least, if they do start going after a bunch of these types, I think it'll be worse for them.
I think it's also...
They're so worried about the law.
I think it's also a great way to show other sides of your personality. The same way Denise has a board about succulents, or Patrick's got a board about different places he'd like to go. Twitter is such a short soundbite type medium that when you pull up someone's Pinterest boards and you see all these different things that they want to say, this is what I stand for, over in the legal side, just in terms of pure inspiration, which I think a lot of people are looking for, and that's part of what makes it such a compelling medium, to have this ability to pull up someone's boards and say, this person clearly likes all these things and finds inspiration in perhaps similar things that I do, and it makes you want to follow what they're doing. That's the beauty in it too. To say that it's a fuller picture of a personality for brands, that's part of what makes it so compelling, I think. When you look at Chobani, who got on there really early, more than other brands in the yogurt vertical, I guess you could say, and went out there and posted not just their own stuff, but went out and showed, creative boards, asked for collaborative boards, asked their fans to pin recipes, and made their brand, which, let's remember, it's yogurt, which is delicious, but not what you would call necessarily the most inspiring thing. They had this huge following and all these loyal fans because they made it a collaborative process, and it showed another side of their company that they wouldn't otherwise get to do. So there's some benefit in that too, showing off, the other esoteric interests you might have that make you a more human being to your audience.
I think that's a good point. I think, Jody, I talked to you when I first started Pinterest, and that advice helped kind of guide my boards. This is kind of my suggestion based on what you told me. These are my boards. And what I did is I pinned my own stuff because, I create a lot of original stuff. And so I pinned that. I think that's kind of pure and that sort of thing. But then I have other boards like design ideas and inspiration. I just pinned this thing from Kevin Rose. This is other photographers I like. I pin all kinds of really cool photos that inspire me. This is food I must eat. This is places to visit someday. So there's a mix of my own stuff and inspirational stuff, and it feels like a nice balance to me.
I think it's a good place to be silly too. I mean, if you want to be silly, not everyone wants that, but I started a board called Trees That Look Like Broccoli because I think there are a lot of trees that look like broccoli, and it's certainly not the most integrity-filled board out there. But when other travel bloggers, when there were roundups from different travel sites about people's boards on Pinterest, they always talked about that one because you're not afraid to say that, yes, I have this other set of boards that is places I want to stand in or things I want to see, but it's okay to be silly too. And I think, again, that lends itself to painting yourself as a more relatable human being, which for a lot of brands is a really good thing.
Yeah, and I think individuals find it really compelling too. I've only been on Pinterest for 5 days, and I'm finding that I'm having the same experience with it as I did when I joined Google Plus in its infancy, that it is so immersive and so, you can just throw yourself in there and lose yourself because there's so much great stuff to keep your attention. And what I'm also finding is what someone mentioned earlier. There are people for whom this is just their métier, that the ability to just sort of curate and express in this way, they're really, really, really wired for it. And they're doing a great job. Calibra being one of them. And there are tons of others that it's just very natural for people to aggregate and identify things that they find and also create their own identities. I think, as you were saying, Jody, there's a lot about self-expression in this too. So it's definitely tapped into something, and I think it's going to be around for a while. From one thing I've been thinking about in the background as we've been talking about the site is I mentioned Creative Commons earlier, and there's this, we mentioned metadata in pictures, and one of Creative Commons goals is for people to be embedding metadata in their photos that says, hey, this is a Creative Commons picture. And there are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of photos. Actually, there are tens of millions of photos on Flickr that are Creative Commons licensed. And nobody has quite really done a good job of wrangling that universe of Creative Commons work out there. And maybe that should be something that Pinterest is considering, to really start tapping into the photos that are tagged for sharing out there. So other than just looking for people that have not opted out of Pinterest or people that have optimized for Pinterest, such as Etsy, maybe they should be affirmatively pointing their users toward the ever-growing universe of stuff out there that is also tagged for sharing.
Cool. Thank you, Denise. I'm here with my kids. This is a hint about what I'm about to show when we share photos coming up. I'm at my dad's house in Dallas. I'm in the middle of moving right now. But we can segue now to start showing photos that people have recently taken. Let's start with one of the most exciting outings lately, I think, Thomas in Utah with all these guys. I think he's done something crazy. So, Thomas, let's start with you. Share your photos.
Okay, let me get it up here. Let's see, screen share. Okay.
Do you guys want to dance or anything while we wait?
Oh.
Sorry. Okay, so I will share some of the stuff that I took this weekend I've only done a couple of these so far, but these are some photos. Can you all see that?
Where we see the Finder window, not the actual.
I made it bigger. Oh, that's not going to work, is it?
Unless you share the whole desktop.
Okay. So let me change that. Share. Desktop. I should know this. Okay. I should have put these in Lightroom. So can you guys see that now?
Yes.
Yep.
You can?
Yes.
Okay, so you see the picture of the kid?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's Max Makarov, Yvonne's son, who some of you might know. We were at the, Scott Jarvie had us all at the Utah, and we did the Colors Festival, which is just this wonderful Hindu all-day, 2-day celebration, actually, where everybody throws chalk and gets everybody completely, here's another picture from it.
Wow.
You can see that's one of the chalk launches. They're throwing chalk in the air. It gets all over everybody. Oops. This is a sunset of the Hindu temple.
Where were you, Thomas?
This is Utah. This is, let's see, what is the name of the place we were at? South Fork, Utah, I think. So it was just this wonderful Hindu celebration for Holi. And there were some amazing portraits there. I got my Canon 5D Mark III. So I was shooting that, which was fun. And people get covered in this chalk. Literally, it's from people just throwing it in the air, all kinds of different colors. It makes for just some absolutely wonderful portraits. So that's kind of what I was up to this past weekend. Scott Jarvie, there were tons of people out there. My wife went with me, Michael Bonacore, and Lotus Carroll, and Chris Chabot from Google, and Ricardo Lagos from Google, and just a whole host of people were out there. Some are still there.
So are you supposed to close your eyes and hold your breath when you're doing all that? Like, how do you? Yeah,
it's hard to breathe it. It's hard to breathe it in. You just gotta, if you're in the middle of it, it's some people are wearing gas masks and respirators and things like that. But you definitely are going to be blowing your nose with an awful lot of color for the next couple of weeks. But no, you get absolutely drenched. So that's what I did this last week, and I haven't processed enough of them. So here's just a couple of other recent shots. I've been working with silhouettes. That's Nick Stankus, who's on Google+. We hung out together and shot St. Louis. That's Charlie Blake, Sly Vegas's other half. Shot some abandoned stuff in Detroit recently. The Northville Regional Psychiatric Hospital, Farwell Building.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was great. That's the new Canon 8-15 fisheye. So shooting on that. Here's another one from Farwell. So yeah, I've just been running around the country shooting stuff and abandoned stuff and stuff like the Colors Festival. Great hanging out with Jarvie and everybody else. That this past weekend was terrific.
And do they postpone the event if it's raining?
That's a good question. I don't know what they do if it's raining. There were about 50,000 people that showed up for the thing in total, and it's just wild. I mean, they've got all these bands playing all this Hindu music, and it's constantly Hari Hari Krishna, Hari Hari Rama, and yet the crowd is like 90% Mormon. It feels like they're all Utah college kids, so it's kind of a sort of a funky thing, and everybody's super friendly and everybody's in a good mood, and they're willing to have their picture taken and lots of great portraits, and we had a great group, about 40 of us, mostly organized on Google+, that Jarvie brought a model in and we took pictures of her. She was in a white wedding dress, and then we drenched it with color, and Scott Jarvie did a blog post that's got some really cool stuff on it. So So we had a great time. So that's kind of what I was up to this last weekend.
Cool. Thank you. Now I'm here with my dad. We're seeing all the generations of Ratcliffs here tonight. So, Calibra, do you have any photos you'd like to share?
Well, actually, I do, but they're just my iPhone shots since I'm not a photographer. But I did want to say one thing, Trey, I can't speak for all women, but when it comes to Pinterest, one of the things for me, I actually feel like it's a break from social media because there's not a whole lot of interaction really other than the picture sharing. So that you can just go there and browse around just for things that you like without a whole lot of interaction. It is another one of the things that I like about it, actually.
That's a good point. It gets grouped into social media, but it's actually quite a solitary exercise.
It's different. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, so let me see if I can do this. Tell me. We're in Washington for Photoshop World. And so, of course, I had to go take a picture of the cherry blossoms. Can you see that? Am I doing this right?
We do not see your screen share. We just see you still. We still see you.
Still see me? Okay, hold on.
Click on that little picture with the dog on it.
I heard, by the way, that these cherry blossoms were a gift from the Japanese government to the American government. They were planted back after the war.
Right. We see it now, Calibra.
Do you see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So that's with my iPhone. Nobody laughed. That would really be unprofessional. So that's my little iPhone shot for the cherry blossoms. And then speaking of, do you see the Taj Mahal?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No, it's still showing your cherry blossom window.
Okay. I don't know what I'm doing wrong then.
So if you want, just choose desktop. That's the first. You have, embarrassing pictures of Scott on your desktop.
Yeah, the first option when you click screen share is desktop, and that'll just show your whole desktop, and then you don't have to worry about which window is sharing.
Okay. There, how's that? How about now?
There we go.
So, see that?
Well, actually, I see your thumbnail. I see your finder. I see your finder window.
Oh, maybe I won't be able to do it.
That's okay. We can see the thumbnail. It's a nice thumbnail.
It's a little thumbnail. It's just a little photo anyway.
Just hit your space bar and it'll open it up.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Or just click on the little film strip thing.
Click on the image and hit your space bar.
How's that?
We only see the thumbnail, but if you click on that film strip thing that's along the top, then we could see it.
Yeah.
The problem is when you hit the space bar, it opens a new window, and you're not sharing that window. You're sharing a specific window. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all confusing. We're with you. We feel for you.
I bet Chi Chu could fix this.
There we go. How about now?
It's the same window. When you click it, the first option just says desktop. When you first hit screen share, and that's just going to show everything on your desktop. That should probably work.
It's okay. You can play with it, and we'll jump over to Patrick, who I'm sure is going to wow us with some crazy landscapes. So go for it, Patrick.
Am I having the same? Okay, let's try this. Does that work?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So everyone sees the picture pretty good, or am I doing it right? Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
That was taken in Gaspé in the province of Quebec on one of my last road trips that I did. And that's a picture I'm pretty happy with because that morning I almost stayed in bed. You know, I love getting up for sunrises, but that day I was so tired from the whole trip that I almost stayed in bed and finally decided to get up anyway. and I was greeted with these incredible rays. I would have loved the rays to actually hit the rock in the back, it's called the Rocher percé in French. And but they were behind it, but it still created an amazing scene that I was like really fortunate enough to take in pictures. And also I did some nice footage with the Canon 5D Mark II that I'm about to release in a small like video. Now this other one, this too, that's I was with a friend. We're traveling on our road trip, and that's a spot I spotted from the road and decided that, oh, that's where we need to shoot sunset. And he's like, oh no, I don't see anything good happening at that place. And I said, okay, just drop me here and you find your own spot. And finally I was really happy to go there, because I have another shot also at that same location, which every rock seemed like a jewel. It seemed like it was a really, really nice place. I could have spent at least, I would say 2-3 days shooting there, because there was so much to photograph. The rock formations were so nice and interesting that, actually these were shot, that was my first trip using the Nikon 1424 on my Canon 5D Mark II. So I was amazed by the quality of that wide-angle lens compared to I was used to shooting with the 1740. And I tried the 1635. I also tried the Zeiss 21 millimeter. And to me, this is the best of all the lenses I've used. I'm really amazed with the quality of this wide-angle lens. So I love using it with the Canon 5D, and also thinking of maybe getting the new D800 after I see a few RAWs and keep it for my wide-angle, but also shoot Canon at the same time. I don't mind using both. I guess we have to use whatever's best for us to produce the best quality images. And for now, I think I could benefit from using both. That's a morning shot of, it's called Île Verte, the green island, and wonderful place to stay. That little house you see, you could stay there. It's really cheap, and it's a beautiful island. Almost nobody lives on that island, and you get some terrific shots of coastal shots, and you go there during the fall, you get some great fall shots. Also, because there's a lot of different kind of trees on that island. I don't know if I went through all of them. Yeah, and this is another one from the same trip.
Hey, Patrick, how long an exposure is that?
This one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Are you using any sort of filters?
Yeah, I'm using the Lee filters, and I'm using polarizer also on it. I got the SW150, the Lee holder for the 1424. And
I just got the big stopper this week, the Lee big stopper.
Nice. I haven't used the big stopper. I haven't got my hands on one yet. And actually, what I did is I contacted Lee. Well, kind of contacted Lee this week on Twitter, asking them what's going on with the big stopper, and they told me we haven't got one yet. We're working on it, and so I said, cool, I can't wait to get it. But then the next day, I get the same email from the guys at High Tech, and they actually have one in stock. So I'll be getting it pretty soon and trying it to see how it is on the 1424, because that big stopper doesn't fit on the new holder. But I've heard great things about it, and High Tech also makes one, which is called the Pro Stop. And it's 10 stop, and I'll be using it in Iceland to see actually what's going on with it. But on these pictures, I'll always use NDs, graduated filters, and polarizers. So all depends on the shots. All the equipment I presently have are all Lee filters, but I'll be trying out the new high-tech filters.
Hey, Patrick, what adapter are you using to use your Nikon lens on Canon?
It's a NovoFlex.
Okay, cool.
It's a NovoFlex adapter that actually you don't have control. It's a manual control for your aperture. So what you got to do is you have a little slider on the side that if you bring it all the way up, you're at 2.8, and then if you bring it all the way down, you know that you're about at f22. So in the middle, you'd be at f8, f11. So it's kind of maybe guesswork, but you get so used to it that after a while to actually take the right focus, you would have to put it at f22 to see, f2.8, because or else everything turns blurry in your viewfinder. And then once you know you got the right focus, you just lift the lever to get to f16, f22, and you take the picture.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. That was great. Of course, people can follow you on Google Plus if they want to see even more. Okay, Calibra, I'm switching to your screen now. We can see the Taj.
Okay, cool. So this actually, Scott and I just got back from this trip to India, and a lot of planning, of course, went into the trip. And then we got there, and it was just complete fog for day. The entire time we were supposed to be there. It was really kind of neat because when we first walked in, and you're so familiar with the Taj Mahal, you've seen it so many times in pictures, and that when we walked kind of through this tunnel area to when you first see the Taj Mahal, the fog was just sort of lifting, and it was, I mean, I really don't know how to describe it better than surreal. It was wild. So, but anyway, I grabbed this picture with my iPhone. That's all I ever have with me, genuinely. So, anyway.
That's a great one.
Thank you.
That's a great one. Jody or Denise, do you guys have some photos you want to share?
Sure. Denise,
go ahead,
you wanna
Jody.
go first? Okay. So I had said I'm more of a travel writer than a photographer, and I used a point and shoot for most of my photos up until this past year. And I just got the EP3, the Micro Four Thirds from Olympus, which I'm currently using with a 20mm lens because I take a lot of food photos. But I'm going to show you, I actually made a collage to make it easier. I actually can't seem to find it. 1 second. Do you see the, you don't, do you? Do you see the photos there?
Yes.
You do?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, wait, go back.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Hold on. No. Okay. So these are just photos from this fall. I've been through Morocco and Turkey mostly. And then the photo in the middle is actually a woman, a young girl, 13 years old in Myanmar. And what she's got on her face is called Tanaka. And it's a sandalwood paste that people use both as sunscreen and a beautifying kind of makeup almost, and different areas of the country have different patterns with the Tanaka. So this is basically, she was actually really excited and really happy and kind of giggling right before I took the photo. And then I asked if I could take a photo. And immediately when I did, she just got really serious. So it's kind of a fun contrast to remember how she was, you know, in my mind. And then the others are, the top right is Istanbul's Blue Mosque, taken with a pinhole setting on the camera. The bottom are tajinnya, the tagines from Fez, pottery making plates. The cat is my favorite cat from the kebab cart near my hostel, and then my guide's feet against the floor in a madrasa in the middle of Fez. I just like the contrast from all of them. So those are some photos from this fall.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Jody.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Denise, did you have something you wanted to share?
Sure, I have a couple I pulled together.
Okay, after that, I have a little embarrassing surprise for people.
Uh-oh.
See if I can do this. Okay, so I told you guys I went to, whoa, that's looking really trippy. There, is that better?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we went to Colombia, and I just again, I'm not a photographer. I'm someone who runs around with a Panasonic Lumix point and shoot and my iPhone. And this one actually my girlfriend took, and I think she took it on her iPhone. This is at the airport in Nuki on the Pacific coast of Colombia. And it was just crazy. There was this twin-engine plane just getting enveloped by the jungle that we both loved. So that's her shot of that. This is at a different part of Colombia, out in about an hour outside of Medellin. There's this big rock called La Piedra del Peñol, which you can climb up 646 steps. And this is there's a tower at the top, and this is looking out the window of that tower onto the reservoirs all around it. These are our kids who we brought to Colombia with us. And I like this shot because I didn't do anything to make it look blurry. You know, that's just how it came out, and I kind of like the effect. With Ryan there in the foreground, more in focus. This is the town of Nuki, which is a tiny, tiny little town where that airplane was. This was immediately across the street from the airport. You go to the dock and get on your boat in the river there, and we went an hour south from here to the Eco Lodge where we stayed. This is my favorite picture, I think, of the people from the trip. Actually, we took some fun photos of all the people we met, but this is my favorite picture of any of us travelers, and my friend took this of her son. Those are a couple of coconut drinks called Coco Locos, which we happily enjoyed moments after this was taken.
Denise, is there alcohol in those drinks?
There is nothing but alcohol in those drinks and coconut milk. And then finally, let's see, here's a shot I took, if I can get it there, of her son, who's quite an athletic little guy, and he was cartwheeling all over the beach and otherwise having a great time. So there's my little selection for you guys.
Okay, thank you. So instead of me showing my photos, which I feel like people get overloaded by seeing my photos, since I figured most people watching this see my stuff all the time, and I don't want to overdo it. Sorry for so much of me. But I'll show you something else. Instead of my photos, I'll show you photos of me when I was a little kid. These are very embarrassing.
Oh, your dad's photos. Your dad's photos. That's appropriate.
Yeah, these are I guess some of my dad's photos. Okay, here we go. Let me pick up the camera here. Okay, so here I am with Santa Claus. That's me. Let me click on my stuff here so I can see what's going on. Okay.
Were you asking for a D800 there?
Yeah, I was asking for a Nikon. I think I was asking for an Atari 2600. Okay, so there's that. Here's another one. This is me, I think after one of my birthday parties. I had a very colorful room. Maybe that's why I like colors now. I'm the one that's not the monkey. And then here's the last one. This is me, sort of a space helmet sort of thing, I guess.
I think you just put a bowl over your head.
Yeah, it might be one of those 1970s popcorn bowls. So anyway, that was me looking ridiculous as a little kid. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. We'll keep hanging out
we can
for a while.
The discoveries, right?
Oh my gosh, I almost forgot.
How did we forget that?
We're going to talk about Twit Photo tomorrow. We got Dave Cox and Will from 11D are going to be in studio on Twit Photo tomorrow.
Yes, thank you for that plug, Dave. Let's do discoveries.
Trey,
Yes.
your dad's not going to sue you for copyright violation for showing those photos on this show, is he?
No, I don't think so. No, we have a deal. We have a royalty thing going on.
Yeah, right.
Well, so I'll go ahead and share my photographer discovery, and then everyone else can go around the horn, and we'll do it from left to right. Here we go. There's Scott talking about his woman. Where is I got so many things open here. Oh, here we go. This guy, Lars van de Goor. Okay, I've mentioned him to some people before. And if you haven't circled him, please do. He's great. I have him in a special circle. As you can see, I have a special circle called Great Photographer. Okay? Who knows who's in that circle? Only me. But he is definitely in that circle. I have so many. I have a photographer circle, and then I kind of have my great photographers. When I really need to be like guaranteed with inspiration, I go to this circle because it's always a slam dunk. And as you can see, I've only showed you a few of this guy's photos, but
no, he's great. I follow him also. Really good.
He is great. All right, so that's my pick. Patrick, you've got someone for us that he's new to Google Plus. He hardly has anybody that's circled him. So let's change that. Let's get this guy a lot of circles.
Let me share the window. Here we go. His name is Adam Burton. He's one of the top UK photographers, landscape photographers. And I spoke to him this week, and he will be joining me in the Faroe Island that we're going in a month in a trip. And I told him about Google Plus, and I said, you got to be there. And he just recently joined. If you go on his profile, which is Adam Burton, well, you see it on top. I don't know if you guys could see his name on top. If I go like this, maybe it helps. And I think he's got one profile pictures and maybe 5 images on it, but he's a really good landscape photographer. And I've met him way back then when EPZ, ePhotoZine, the UK website came out. That's where we met and then actually started the Time Catcher project afterwards. But now he just joined Google Plus because he said, I'm on Facebook already. And I said, well, you got to try this Google Plus because all photographers are in there and it's pretty good. So he just joined. So I highly recommend him to all of you guys. And
Great.
then I got another one. Can I?
Bonus.
Yeah. Okay. There's this guy, which is Ken Kaminesky. I love his work. He does some HDR work, really high quality. I don't know if you guys know him, but the quality of his work is tremendous. I just love what he does. He's really good at it, and that's it. If it's Ken Kaminesky, Kaminesky.
Yes, and so for everyone that wants to follow Ken and everybody that can't remember how to spell it, we will plus mention everybody when we repost the video, and that will be an easy way to circle him and everyone else we mention as well. Okay. Thomas, do you have someone you want to share with us?
Yeah, I do. Okay. Before I do that, though, I was talking about that Holly Festival of Colors that we shot, and people had asked about the camera, and so I wanted to show Chris Chabot's camera. So if you guys can see, believe it or not, that is a brand spanking new Canon 5D Mark III.
Oh.
So that's what it looks like. Mine looked about the same. I should have taken a picture of it, but I didn't. But that's what that color festival does to a brand new $3,500 camera that you can't even barely get.
I'd be using one of those rain covers or something.
I don't know. I didn't use one either. You know what I hate about those rain covers is that you can't see the viewfinder. You can't see the LCD screen very well. So it kind of covers it up. So I kind of did the same thing he did. I taped up a bit with gaffer tape, and but my 5D Mark III came out remarkably well. So it still works.
Was it easy to remove?
Yeah, the gaffer tape, you just rip it right off. Yeah, it's super easy.
No, not the gaffer, but all the chalk.
It took a little work. We had an air compressor, and so you could blow a lot of it off, and you could use brushes and other things to clean them afterwards. But I'm sure I'll have like little pink dust in my camera for the rest of its life. So anyway, so the person that I wanted to show with you guys is Sam Scholes, who was one of the people that I actually hung out with on Wednesday. in Utah, and he was in a show at the St. George Art Museum called Forgotten Places, and these are some of his images from his show. He does a lot of abandoned stuff, which I absolutely love, but most of this is abandoned photography, a lot of it around Utah. And Sam took us to an amazing old, I think it was some sort of refinery or something, or steel plant, or really old something. We shot some ruins there. But he does a lot of the abandoned stuff that I love, and he's on Google Plus and he's on Flickr, and there's some light painting with some red light underneath, but a lot of just I love these mannequins. I love mannequins, but he told me when he went into this place, he went in through a window. He had no idea what to expect, and he's shining the flashlight, and the first thing he sees are all these creepy half mannequin bodies. But Sam's got some really wonderful stuff, and you can check his stuff out on Flickr, Google Plus, Facebook, all the above. That's the place he took us that we shot this sort of refinery thing, these tanks, which is pretty cool. Anyways, that's some of Sam's work.
Cool. Thank you, Thomas. Let's keep going right to left. Calibra, do you have someone you'd like to share with us? You hold great power.
Let's see. Here we go.
Tanya.
All right, can you see that? Yeah.
Yeah, she's really great. She's fantastic.
I really like the fact that it's, illustration or painting. That appeals to me. Yeah, they're all photos, but I mean, they look like illustrations, paintings. They all incorporate, or most of them, she incorporates some sort of object of flight in there, which appeals to the pilot and me. I don't know. I just think they're beautiful the way she does that. Interestingly enough, I guess she wound up getting critiqued on the grid, and I didn't know it was the same woman. So when I mentioned that today, Scott was talking about how she wound up getting a positive critique, I guess, on the grid. So I think it's really interesting, all of her stuff. Okay. Yeah, right. No drawings, but they look like it. Can you see those?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, they're spectacular. So is Tanya creating all this in Photoshop? She starts with a photo and then artistically augments it?
Yes. Fantasy matte painting.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely gorgeous.
So she's really cool. She made What's Hot this week, and she's going to be doing a little book on a how-to book for flatbooks.com. Yeah, she's quite an artist.
Right. There's 160 hours per photo.
Wow.
She's on there. That's crazy, right?
Yeah. Super crazy. Cool. Well, thank you, Calibra. Jody, do you have something for us? For Denise?
I do. I was actually going to mention Ken, who is also from Montreal, and actually his mom and my aunt square danced together. We just figured this out. But since Patrick already did, I've got two other people, actually, both of whom are also in the travel blogging.
Did he give you $20 also?
No, he didn't.
No?
One is Mark Wiens, who, like me, is obsessed with all things food, and like me, also Asia. And I will go and get that on my desktop here. Can you see these photos?
Not yet.
No.
Did you push the icon of the little dog up top?
I'm not doing that. There we go. Can you see them now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Mark is someone I met in Bangkok last year, 2010 actually, and the two of us would be eating dinner and trying to figure out where we would eat our second dinners. This is actually a spam sushi roll that he's got here. But he's got a whole bunch of different photos, and what I love about the way he takes pictures is that he really gets into why food is eaten the way it's eaten in Asia, and he talks about building a meal based on these different confluences of flavors, which is something I feel really passionate about too. And he's really gotten under the skin of the places he visits through food. So I wanted to highlight him because it's not a traditional sort of photography realm, I suppose, in that it's not much of landscape, but it is, I think, a really important part of how you see the world, and he does a great job at it. The second person is Daniel Nahabedian, who has a site called Canvas of Light. These are some of his photos. This monkey photo was actually one of the finalists for the National Geographic photo competition this year. But he travels around the world as well. He's lived in Abu Dhabi, and he's lived in France and in Spain. And he's got different techniques, but I really enjoy the very varied ways that he takes photos and shows them to the world. And I like the way he sees his travels as he goes. So I think those are the two. This is actually the White Temple in Chiang Rai, right near where I am now. And this is the beautiful Loy Krathong Festival in Thailand, where for New Year they release all these lanterns into the sky. So both of those are people that are in the same kind of group as I am and really see the world through their cameras and through their writing as well.
Cool. Thank you, Jody. And Denise, you can bring up the rear.
Okay. Let's see.
Do you follow a lot of photographers on Google Plus?
I do. You and Thomas, of course, and I will be following Patrick now. And let's see. Are you guys seeing my my screen now? Yes. Maybe.
Yeah, we see Jody.
Yeah, we see the Hangout window.
You see Jody. Okay, so let's see. I was looking for folks who had taken great photos of Colombia on Google Plus and found Mimi Round. She took this series of photos of something called now these are not hers. This is just an article I found. The Cano Cristales, River of Rainbow in Colombia, which looks like, it would be hard to go there and take a bad photo because it's just this spectacular place. But I liked Mimi's photos. She just has this nice selection of stuff that she's done. Who knows if she is professional or more like me, someone who just enjoys pointing a camera and seeing what comes up. I think she's probably somewhere more toward your guys' end of the spectrum. But I liked her work, so thought I would share it with you. And then also through her, I found this gentleman, Erick Cuichap, who's taken some other jungle-oriented photos, and I liked these of bugs and things that he'd taken in the Amazon. And then the other thing I just thought I'd toss out there, we were talking about Pinterest so much on the show, and how for some people it's just their métier. And I've never seen Kathy Myers featured as one of the most followed people on Pinterest, although she has some pretty high numbers there. She has close to 30,000 people following her. And she's mostly a, reposter of other people's works, but she has an eye. Let's just say that. I have great respect for the things that she's aggregating and the job that she's doing and throwing interesting imagery into the stream here from wherever she gathers it. So I thought I'd share Kathy Myers as well too.
Great. Well, thank you. And also, in the show notes, we'll put links to everyone's Pinterest in here as well. Actually, it's Dave that does do all that hard work, so it's easy for me to say, it's hard for him to do.
Hey, if you guys can all put it in the our little chat module, your link, I'll get it from there.
Thank you, Dave. Mm-hmm. All right, well, we'll bring it to a close. Thanks again, sincerely, everybody. You guys were all great. I was honored you were here. And anyway, you guys know I appreciate you very much, so thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, sure, of course.
Yes.
And we'll, we're still available for questions. I'll be looking at chat and the threads, and I'll kind of sign off of here and go see what I can attend to there. So we're always around if you need us. All right. Well, we'll see you now. Next week, I may not be around because I am going on a Disney cruise, and I don't know about my connectivity there. So I'm going to try to get Gordon to host the show instead. And that's up in the air. I don't know what's going to happen, but Dave and I will figure out something so that everyone is entertained in this time slot. I don't want you to have a black hole of nothingness on your Monday night. So we'll do our best to keep you entertained, all right? Well, thanks again, everybody. And we could just do as we do every week and just kind of wave goodbye from our little Brady Bunch boxes. Okay, bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.